Hi everyone, I'm Justin Diamond, and today I will read Chapter 11 from my novel Giant Special Tokyo Love and Game. Alright, I was still high from my trip to Donnie's place when I finally stepped off of a train in Kuki. But the half-a-mile walk home really managed to kill my buzz. I decided to take the same shortcut through the park on my way home, mostly because my feet hurt from walking on concrete for so long. In theory, walking across the uneven grass park would provide some relief. I glanced over to the corner of the park where there were a few benches. There was a couple snuggling up, probably waiting for me to pass by to start making out again. Probably junior high school students, but it was too dark to be sure. When I got home, Sora was already asleep. I decided to play WoW and have another smoke. It was better to smoke when Sora was sleeping because then she wouldn't complain. I tried to log into WoW, but the server, Magtheridon, brought up a wait screen. Calculating wait time is what it said. 33 minutes. Fuck that. I opened another window to my WoW account management, and fuck lag Therodon, I said. With a few clicks, I had my characters set for a server transfer. Since I was living in Japan now, the American servers simply wouldn't do. There were oceanic servers for people who lived on this side of the world. I clicked the transfer button. Warning! Your credit card will be charged $14.99 if you click continue to transfer your characters to the oceanic realm. Saurfang. Goodbye. I clicked continue. On the Australian server, Saurfang, there was no wait to play. I am Molokai, a druid who can shapeshift into different animals. I was a bird, flying to where the quest giver was standing patiently with a giant golden exclamation mark floating above his head. From my bird's eye view, I could see somebody already doing the same daily quest that I intended to do. There was no hiding in WoW, since every character's name was written above their head in bright green letters that would shine through trees and over walls. But the name of the character doing the quest did manage to surprise me. Konehito. It was the kind of name that challenged me like throwing down a digital gauntlet. Konehito. It was Spanish. Just so happens I speak a little Spanish, having grown up in Miami and all. It means little rabbit, which is what I typed to him. Proof! Up front that I got it. I even picked up on the O at the end of the word to denote masculinity. If he was a woman, he would have named himself Konehita. I felt so smart seeing that guy's name, Konehito, and totally figuring him out, like a college professor lecturing on the subject of video game names 101. Funny thing was, the character, the Toon, was female. But in that moment, I knew that Konehito was a rare find. Oh sure, back on the American WoW servers, Spanish names and references were common. On the American server I used to play on, Spanish references were usually over my head because I'm not really very fluent in the language at all. But since switching to the Australian servers, the oceanic servers as they were called, not so much Spanish. Aussies tend to learn Japanese or French when they're in school. There was a good chance that the guy who called himself Konehito was, like me, an American visitor to Japan. $5 says military service. Military service is always a good guess. But I didn't give much else thought to the other random player. I just flew past him as a bird, up to the quest giver with a big yellow exclamation mark above his head. I clicked and accepted the Whack-A-Mole daily quest. And when you do that, he hands you the special magic hammer just for whacking moles in the nearby garden. You only get the hammer while you're on the quest, and it's only good for whacking those moles. I casually walked over to the small cluster of trees where they spawn, all the while keeping an eye on Konahito. Would he keep to his side of the mole garden? Or was he the kind of douchebag that would try to ninja one of my moles? I could tell immediately that he wasn't the kind of player who rushed through his daily quests as quickly as possible. If he was, he probably would have been finished by the time I approached. You had to whack 12 moles. People who play WoW with experience and finesse would be refined enough to work their way back towards the quest giver, to finish by whacking their last mole closest to the quest giver, just because it would save them a little bit of time. Konahito was not playing anything like that. Something about the way Konahito was playing was off. Taking a few steps closer, I realized he wasn't whacking moles at all. He wasn't even holding the magic hammer in his hand. He was casting spells by the look of it. I took him for a noob and figured, oh well, and raised my hammer, ready to start whacking my moles just as soon as one popped up. Meh. One mole popped up and I whacked him in a split second. On my screen, a counter appeared. 1 of 18. Meh. Another mole yelled, closer to Konahito, followed by the unmistakable sound of a spell being cast. It sounded just like one of the spells I cast when I play on my alternate WoW character, a priest. I lowered the magic hammer and turned to get another look at this Konahito. He was wearing cloth, another sign that he probably was a priest, but then I saw him cast another spell and decided, what the hell. I right-clicked him and inspected him for myself. A window popped up with his character sheet. Sure enough, he was a priest. And not a shadow priest either. He was a holy priest. In other words, the weakest, least offensive kind of priest that there is. His spells would hurt like being smacked with a wet noodle. The moles, although slow and also puny McWeak sauce, were hitting him back. I'd never seen them do that before. When you hit them with the magic hammer, like you're supposed to, they die, they vanish. I'd never seen someone try attacking them with spells, let alone a holy priest. I noticed that Konahito's health bar was nearly empty and clicked away the window with his character sheet. My God, was he trying to be the first WoW player ever to die at Whack-A-Mole? Normally, if you'd run over to somebody and whack the moles that they're obviously going for, that's rude. But in this case, I felt it was justified. He was about to die. If I had been a restoration druid, I might have tried to just cast some healing spells on him. But I was a feral druid, a bear tank, as they're called. The only way to save this guy an annoying and embarrassing death in the world of Warcraft was to steal his mob. I walked over and whacked his moles, just a moment before they would have drained his health bar entirely. 2 of 18 quickly changed to 3 of 18. I typed a word of advice to this Konahito. Are you alright? And Konahito typed back, sip. Sip? What the hell did sip mean? I didn't know. Maybe Konahito was one of these guys who was really playing WoW to try and learn English. Technically, you weren't supposed to do that, but it wouldn't be the first time I'd seen someone slip through. I mean, there were South American servers specifically for Spanish speakers, but that didn't guarantee that some noob, like Konahito, would start a character on one of the English-speaking servers by mistake. Konahito was certainly looking like just the kind of noob who could do that and then continue to play on the wrong server. if for no better reason than that it costs money to transfer a character between servers. And who would want to start over from scratch once you've put all that time in? I typed, "You're supposed to use the hammer, not spells." Konehito probably didn't understand me. Or maybe he was just slow at typing. Whatever the case was, after waiting for a response for long enough to finish the daily quest and be on my way, I decided to show, not tell. I found a mole hole clearly in front of him, in his sight, and approached. After giving the magic hammer an unnecessary wave in his direction, I smashed it down on the next mole to jump out. 4 of 18. I typed, "See?" Then I heard that same sound again. The sound of a priest's spell being cast. It sounded like holy fire to me. I don't really know my priest spells by sound so well, but sure enough, there was another mole making its way slowly towards where the two of us were standing. Its health bar was barely going down at all. To make it worse, Konehito, the holy priest, hadn't even healed himself from the damage the last mole had done. Somewhere, 1,000,000 meters away at my keyboard, I sighed. Back in the game, I rushed to cast every healing spell I had on Konehito. Sure, I wasn't a resto druid and it didn't heal him much, but it did something. When I'd wasted all my mana just to barely fill up Konehito's health bar a quarter of the way, I found a bandage in my bags and used that to heal him for maybe half of his remaining stamina. But still, he kept casting those weak-ass, holy priest spells, trying desperately to defeat the mole with magic, when only the hammer would do. Just when the mole got in range of attacking Konehito, I whacked it. 5 of 18. Sure, it wouldn't have killed him right away, but it would have eventually. After using all my mana and a bandage to heal him up, I didn't want to see my work go to waste. I typed, "Use the magic hammer. It should be a button in the lower right corner of your screen." Konehito paused for a virtual awkward silence, and then the hammer appeared in his hands, replacing the wand that had been there just a moment before, and I typed, "Yes!" And he swung it, but came up with air. You had to actually walk next to one of the mole holes in order to really do it right. But I'm sure now that he found the right button, he would get it. I demonstrated once more for him. The next time a mole popped up with a meh, I whacked it, 6 of 18, and took a moment to watch the poor noob. He walked over to where the next mole jumped out. Meh. It's a lot easier if you just patiently wait at a hole, but you could run around and really work for your moles if you wanted to. But Konehito walked. When I say walked, I mean walked. Most players, hell, everybody in WoW runs everywhere because in WoW you don't ever get tired of running, so why walk when you can run? But Konehito managed to walk, ever so painfully slow, over to the mole. He lifted the hammer, swung, and missed. The mole had popped back into his hole before he got the swing off. I couldn't help but loll at his epic fail. But he got it on the next swing, and that made me smile, knowing that somewhere out in RL, this guy's screen had flashed him a 1 of 18, a feat that he had been desperately trying to do for who knows how long. Cone typed to me, "I am understand, TY." And I typed back, YW. Because WoW players can't be fucked typing out, "You're welcome." I whacked off my remaining moles, completed the quest, shape-shifted into a bird, and flew away. Down below, I saw Konehito swing. and miss. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.